Hey ho, good neighbors, what's going on? It's Phil Russer at Creatorcon Q&A. It's Tuesday, so we still got the week ahead of us, so hopefully it all goes smooth for you. We are a little bit late. Yes, Kevin, how are you? Because we were laughing and joking in the background, so we were a little bit. But we've got some cool guests tonight, and we're going to talk about a great indie publisher with campaigns running regularly, and we have a new one coming up. We're going to have the sign up link here. We've got the penciler inker artist extraordinaire also with us, and we're going to talk everything Committed Comics. Now, I don't know if they're committed to doing comics or it's because Tom should be committed, but either way, we are going to find out. So without further ado, my favorite Irishman, Tom Doherty.
What's going on?
And the newly dubbed Bill the Mighty Mouse.
I am dubbed, sir.
How are you guys?
Good.
I'm doing pretty good, man. Thanks for having us. My goodness.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's funny because this is the first time I'm meeting you face to face. We've briefly interacted on posts once in a while, but it's nice to put a face to the name, you know?
Exactly. I feel the same way. I hang out. I've actually made more friends and I've hung out with more people since the pandemic because we're all online doing live streams than I have probably in 10 years of shows.
Well, it's tough because, you know, you're trying to sell at shows and you're marketing and you're working and you try to hang out and talk to people, but, you know.
Exactly.
So many people come by the booth that you end up being face blind. Like, you know, when you came by at San Diego and you're looking at me going, what the hell, man? And I'm like, oh my God.
Like, I'm right here.
I think he was just stunned because I'm even more handsome in person.
That's true. Yeah. I was stunned by the light shining in my face from, you know.
Exactly.
Kevin says Irishman and a mouse.
Right. But it's not an Irish mouse.
But I'm an Irish mouse too. I'm an Irish Puerto Rican mouse. And we got an Irish Asian publisher.
See,
so Irish is in her.
I had a joke for the Irish Puerto Rican thing, but in this day and age, it probably wouldn't go over well. So we're going to leave that alone.
You'll cancel all three of us for laughing at it. It's like, but it was a decent joke.
And it would be somebody who's neither Irish or Puerto Rican that would be probably offended.
Isn't that always how it goes?
Hey, Charles,
you know.
Exactly.
It's not the era I grew up in.
Why is he calling him Irish? If I'm looking down, it's because I'm sharing it to about 45 groups.
Is it racist if I eat Lucky Charms?
Yeah.
No, but you do get diabetes, let me tell you.
You know, actually, Tom, I actually did get my, I had a CT scan recently because my doctor said that I shouldn't have a diet completely composed of M&Ms, Ding Dongs, and Pepsi.
No shit.
Doctor lies.
So yeah. She was concerned because one of the numbers on there was just like, oh, your pancreas is about to explode. We should probably take a look at that. So I just got the report back today and said that everything's normal. How about you cut out the sugar? I think that's what it says in the X-ray.
How about you shut up, doctor?
I know. So I'm still alive. I'm still drawing comics. So I had some good news today. So I'm feeling pretty good about that part.
There we go.
I have a friend who is overweight. You know, I'm overweight, but he was saying he had the body of a Greek god. And I said, which god? Diabetes?
I wield the power of the beatus.
Yeah. But anyway, if we can't laugh at ourselves, then what's the sense, right? I mean,
that's where I start.
Yeah. It starts from within.
That's right.
But what was that old joke? Gallagher had this old joke in his stand-up. He's like, look, even God has a sense of humor. Just look around the room.
Yeah.
I was like, on point.
Not pointing at anybody. He's like,
no.
Look around the room, make your own assessment.
Equal rights all the way across.
Before he smashes the watermelon on the idiots who sat in the front seat for extra money.
I know.
Yeah. That was a smart man.
So let's get into it. You know, for those who either just know you from Facebook or aren't really familiar with you, Bill, give us a little about yourself, what you do, how long you've been in the industry, you know, things like that.
Okay, well, the years that count. I would say starting from my very first actual comic book gig. I think the years before that don't count because that was me getting in trouble in school for drawing instead of studying. So I'm a very poor example of what kids should be listening to as far as advice goes. So 1991 basically is when I started. I actually have. I broke out a couple of copies of some stuff while the credits were rolling. There you go. There's my very first gig for Eclipse Comics, X-Farce. Which the urban legend about that is that it was actually supposed to have a Todd McFarlane cover. And
really?
yeah, but instead they had to settle for me. So it was scheduling issues. That sort of thing.
Gotcha.
So that was my. Huh? What's that?
We should do a book, X Farts.
And actually, that's how I met Don Chin. Don Chin was we published Parody Press together. We co-founded Parody Press and published for almost a decade. And we founded Entity Comics together. That's when we started publishing Zen Intergalactic Ninja, which spun out into Nira-X Cyber Angel and all those things. So because of that very, very first job, that's how Don just happened to be the writer on that book. And then he contacted me and he had this idea for starting a company, just doing parodies ourselves. And that's what became Parody Press. And we did that for almost a decade. I mean, we put out so many parodies that I think we actually became our own competition.
You became your own parody.
Yeah, I think I glutted the market with just my stuff. And it's just like, yeah, they're buying less of this issue because I came out with 3 other issues that month.
I swear I don't attempt parodies because I'm just paranoid and worried that I'm going to do something wrong and I'm going to get a cease and desist or a letter or something going, you're not parodying, you're not doing it right.
Right. Now we kind of rode that envelope for a long time, but that's my source material, my DNA is kind of like before I was really reading Spider-Man and collecting Marvel comics and collecting DC comics and independent comics. I was picking up Cracked Magazine. That's what I was picking up.
I'm glad you added the word magazine after that, but go ahead.
Thank you. Oh, Mazagine. I'm sorry. It's Cracked Mazagine.
Yeah, he was just doing crack. That's pretty much what it was. You know,
it was Cracked, and it was John Severin was my guy. That was my favorite artist, and one of the reasons I gravitated towards his art more than anybody else and he's the one that inspired me to want to do sequential art to begin with. Because he was doing parodies of like all the TV shows and movies that I was actually watching during those years.
Right.
So, he was doing a parody of Knight Rider. He was doing a parody of Superman, Star Wars. Like it was all the stuff that that was my diet of entertainment, for my childhood. So that's what really got me started. Yeah.
That's cool. So who are other influences of yours as far as art?
I know you want to say things like, Jack Kirby and like Neil Adams. Those were like the classic guys. But when I was actually coming up, as far as like who influenced me in that moment while I was working and trying to get better, it was actually the guys that all broke off and became Image Comics. Other than John Severin, I didn't realize, I was too young to understand who drew what back when I was buying Crack and back when I was first, buying Spider-Man. I had no idea that I was a huge Ditko fan. It was like he drew like so much stuff that my childhood is like embedded in, So there's lots of artists, from that era from my childhood that it's like they were nameless until I became an adult. An 18 to 20-year-old adult, starting in comics. And then there was people like literally like Todd McFarlane, Jim Lee, Silvestri, basically the Image gang. It's like those were like the influences. And plus I was always trying to keep up with them. It's like if I can get my quality level, because we were publishing Entity Comics and Parody Press right when Image formed and started putting out their books. So my goal was always to try and I was looking up to those guys. It's like they had a certain level of quality that I was like, yeah, that's the stuff I love. That's the stuff I collect. I wanted to be that good. I look back at it and I'm just like, wow, that was a poor attempt. I'm just a punk kid. But
I think
luckily,
all artists do that though. I think you're all hard on yourself.
I was
because
say,
you're always progressing. You look back and you go, oh.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh yeah,
Harlan and Jim Lee look at that stuff that you loved, and they go, ugh.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Like and then I take like little things. Like there's certain things that Arthur Adams would do with his artwork that I'm like, the way he hatches or the way he does certain textures. And then I look at somebody else like J. Scott Campbell and the way that he would handle shapes and body poses, and so you try to nitpick and try to learn and reverse engineer. From essentially your heroes. It's like, I know they're just people and I met them at shows and they're great. And it's cool to think of them as peers, because we've been doing this for so long. It's kind of like high school in a way where you're walking up and down the hallway and you see the same people. So you nod because you're in the same building. But so
at what point would you say you really came into your own style where you were comfortable in your style? This is Bill's style. It's not, we're always influenced by our heroes or the people we admire, but at some point an artist really gets comfortable in their own style. When would you say that happened?
At some point, maybe towards the mid to late 90s, and it was really because I draw in a few different styles and I like different media. I airbrush, I paint, I do my comic book work, which is really, that's my first love. That's what I do. That's what I'm.
My fence, you bastard. Go ahead.
And so I do lots of different types of artwork, and it was because people were telling me. It's not because I noticed it myself that I had a style. People were constantly telling me that, oh, I could tell you drew that. Oh, I could tell you drew that. Like, and there were completely different types of, like really cartoony, almost children's books kind of projects, and then real superhero stuff, or like some of the adult stuff that I draw. They're just like, I could tell you drew that. That's your stuff. So I was basically convinced by other people that I had a style. I still don't know that I have a style. I just do what I do. It's just I conjure from the paper gods.
And are superheroes like your first passion for drawing, or do you prefer the children's books, cartoony? What's your first passion?
Sci-fi superhero. It's because it was between, like, when I was a little kid. Not that little, but still, when Star Wars came out, it was like this mix of sci-fi and superheroes, and that's kind of like it's somewhere in the middle. And it's influenced a lot by manga. It's influenced a lot by anime, because there were lots of things that I was watching when I was a kid. I was watching, endless episodes of Robotech and Voltron and Bubblegum Crisis, Akira, and those were like that standard of quality. But it's like I never compared those to the American stuff. It just had its own box. You know what I mean? So, but I wanted to mix it all together because those are the things that I really liked.
So that makes you a perfect fit for Nira-X, which we're going to get into briefly. Not briefly, shortly. Briefly is not the right word.
We're not getting into her briefs.
Yeah.
Whoa! This show took a turn.
So how did you and Tom start working together? Did you discover Bill? Did Bill look at you and say, "Hey, I like what you're doing"?
You have the best story for this one.
Yeah. So it basically became a scenario of I'm this close to Bill's face, and he doesn't
this close.
realize. This
close.
That we're gonna work together. So no, we were at San Diego a while back. I want to say it was like 2000.
We met on a dating app. Don't lie.
Comiccon.org.
I like long walks on the beach and pizza.
The Irish connection.
I think it was
Shamrock Love.
Oh my gosh.
Oh lordy.
Now the show has truly turned.
Yeah.
Please join us in the chat. Ask questions.
Don't ask questions. Don't ask any of these questions.
What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
Right. Yeah. And even though all three of us, neither one of us are in Vegas, combined, we're in Vegas.
We're in Vegas.
No, I think it was like 2000. Was it 16 or 15 or 16 in San Diego? It was a while ago.
I want to. Yeah, I want to.
23rd or 24th anniversary, because we were sitting next to each other in Artist Alley in San Diego, and Bill was like, "Oh, I do comics." I'm like, "Yes, I know who you are. Like, I have a whole bunch of your books. In fact, here are some for you to sign for me." And so, I mean, I've been familiar with Bill's work from Parody Press and from X-Farce. I mean, I picked up those books at my local comic store because they were funny, because I was also buying all that stuff from the 90s. I was also buying all the Image stuff. And so it just became this scenario to where it was like, oh yeah, I'm familiar with this stuff. And I was familiar with Zen, as well as Nira and that kind of stuff. And so, Bill was sitting there, we were talking just, as you are at a convention, you're just talking to your neighbor and just, as ups and downs and this stuff. And Bill goes,
light
"Oh
touch
yeah,
of his knee. I get it. Yeah,
yeah. Just hold it around." So I took out the Cheetos. I shook the Cheetos.
The John Ritter, the Jack Tripper.
So no, but it was funny because he was like, "Yeah, Nira's 25th anniversary is coming up." And he's like, right. "I'd really like to put her back in the print because she had been out of print. When did the Avatar deal kind of end? That was like early or mid 2000s, right?
I want to say that 2000 was it was a good divider between the previous era, my previous lives, and the lives that I would form afterwards. Yeah.
So it had been a while since Nira had been in print, and so he was like, her 25th anniversary is coming up, I really want to do something. And I was like, oh, if only you knew an independent publisher that specialized in creator rights, that was familiar with your work, that was sitting right next to you.
See, that's why a lot of artists need agents and/or responsible human beings with a functional left brain.
Yeah,
because I'll sit down. I sit in my cave. This is what I was. This is what spoiled me for quite a while we were doing Entity Comics and when we were doing Parody Press. Is that I was able to just sit in my cave and come up with cool ideas. I was just concentrating on the creative end of it. I wasn't. I would show up to the publisher's house, and it's just like, okay, we have shows. They're this date. Hop in the van. We're gonna go. So it's like all the organization, all the different hats that we have to wear nowadays,
right?
To actually make this happen, to make this work. We didn't have to do that back then.
Someone says the second you're done producing the book, you are no longer a creator, you're a marketer and a businessman.
Yeah. There's at least 5 different hats that you're wearing, and then we're fulfilling things
Mine's
ourselves.
A dunce cap, but yeah.
Mine's in the shape of a dunce cap. It's for sure. We're learning as we're going.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask you, how did X-Farce go over with guys like Rob Liefeld and people who created that? Was there any backlash? Because Rob, Rob is Rob.
I can tell you that I can tell you a couple little tidbits of what Parody Press, how it affected my working relationship with people and how it affected me at shows. X-Farce was great. It was the first big splash. I don't think I ever got anything negative back from X-Farce, which it's amazing that I got, and it was positive feedback, and it was my first job. I was just happy to draw a comic book.
Right.
It was my friend Bob Hannon, who was the inker on the book. He was the one that actually got the job. We worked together at SeaWorld drawing caricatures. So when I was living in San Diego,
you were drawing a lot of semen.
I was drew tons of semen. But I worked at the San Diego Zoo.
A dolphin.
Yeah, airbrush T-shirts. I did anything. My parents, my dad had gotten transferred. He's in the Navy, retired now, many years. But back then, I just got out of my community college. They got transferred to San Diego, and I'm just like, that's where people go to become movie stars and artists. So I'm going to tag along with them. And since I'm away from all my friends and all of my connections, I just made that decision that whatever job I would get, because I had a roof over my head. I'm at my parents' house. As a kid in my parents' house, what more can you ask for, right? Free lifestyle. So
it's the dream.
I just made a decision to whatever job I got, no matter how bad it was, at least it was art related. I wanted to dig my feet in, and I even tried out for movies. I did everything while I was out there when I first started. I tried out for a couple of HBO movies. I tried out for a couple of modeling gigs back when I had
the cool. They had OnlyFans at the time. It would have been
no. That's it. No, I was gonna walk runways if I had to. I had the cool.
Thank God, there was no OnlyFans back then.
But I did a little bit. I animated Attack of the Killer Tomatoes for Saturday morning TV.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah, I
wow.
worked with a lot of guys. They were the normal guys that worked on like Batman the Animated Series, Simpsons. I mean, you name it. It's like the guys that were in that studio. They worked on everything. It was really
Wow.
cool, a cool experience. So my friend Bob and I working at SeaWorld, and he was always telling me that he knew that I loved comic books. I wanted to find a way to get into comic books, and I'm too lazy to show everybody my portfolio and do it the way you're supposed to. So I was just like, if you know an editor, why don't you call him? Prove it to me that you know somebody, whatever. So, it's one of those things where he finally came up to me and he's just like, I got a job. I got a gig. I called up the editor that I know. We talked and whatever, blah, blah, and it was X-Farce. But the deadline that they were imposing on him was impossible. It was just this crazy, impossible deadline. I think we turned that book around in a week. It was literally a week.
Whoa. So
he asked me to help. So he knew right off the bat that I'm much faster at penciling. He's much faster at inking. Yeah, so it was a week or so, and then add some extra time for the letterer to do their
that's
thing.
Also back in the 90s when you were doing like guerrilla comics and everything like that.
Oh, and if you look at the artwork, it looks like I drew it in a week. I mean, it's people like Tom were actually paying me to get better. I mean, obviously you saw a spark, you saw a love for the medium.
I like Don Chim's writing.
So I was happy. I was so happy to just be a part of it, just to have it. So we literally stayed at his apartment with our then girlfriends at the time and some other friends. And we just feverishly, it was almost like a frat party. We turned this thing into 1 week of no sleep. Basically, we ate and drank food, drank soda or whatever, and then drew. Yeah, I would pencil. I would pass it over to him to the other table. He would ink. I would pencil. I'll pass it over to him. So it was a week of just nonstop. I think it took me longer to recover than it did to actually draw this book.
Actually do the project.
Yeah, this is still
now.
Yes, well, I'm talking about a 20-year-old guy who still had energy, and I still needed 2 weeks to recover from that because I was so happy to actually get a gig, right?
Right.
So
you were hungry.
So yeah, we're totally hungry for it. I mean, back when we were doing Parody Press, we were producing 3 and 4 books a month. I was drawing 3 and 4 books a month, and then he had other people. So we had a nice. Our previews catalog listing always had like a nice little selection of books every single month. But there's only a couple negative things that ever came back to me for all the years that we did it. And one of them was a joke. And one of them was actually a misunderstanding that I confronted and was happily finding out that it was a misunderstanding. So the joke was we did a book called Skin 13. And it was basically the whole gimmick was this Gen 13 with and don't close, except I was cleverly covering up their bits and this and that. So it was just a fun.
It was Gen 13.
It was Gen 13. Yeah, exactly. It was Gen 13 with like 3% less close.
Yeah.
So a couple of the guys from their table came over to our table and just stood in front of us like gangsters. And then somebody whispered to me who they were. And I'm like, oh shit. It's like, what am I going to do? It's like, this, is this the end of me in comics? That sort of thing. So they picked up the book from the table. They'd slowly flip through the book. They put it down. They look at each other. They're rubbing their chins. And luckily, it was just them giving us a hard time. And we all had a good laugh afterwards. I was crapping my pants a little bit because I was just like, oh no. It's like, these are the guys I want to impress. These are the guys I look up to. It's like,
I want to hang out with these guys.
It wasn't J. Scott Campbell that came over. It was all their other studio guys. It's like the guys that do the coloring, lettering, and all the other stuff. So they were representing. They came up to the table like, we're here to get you. We're
like was it not Tupac and Biggie and they got their
I thought it was a situation like that. So that was funny. I mean, afterwards it was super funny. So it's like so that was really cool. The only other thing that really happened, I think, Don told us that we got one cease and desist because we did 10 X-Men parodies in a row or something. But it was a friendly cease and desist. Basically, the letter said something to the tune of, we noticed you're doing a lot of X-Men parodies.
Right.
Like all
you
the time.
focus on some DC stuff for a while?
Yeah. Like lean this way, lean away for a minute. So it was still friendly. It was still super friendly, and we still did X-Men stuff.
Was so big at that point.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say,
it's
like
you want to go to. Yeah.
You want to parody the top. You want to make fun of the
well, that's the whole thing, and that's the whole thing. And we're only parodying things that are at the top, and typically we're only parodying things that we love. So they were good-natured parodies. They weren't like trashing parodies. You could do it in a way that's offensive.
Is the what the hell is this?
Sincerest form of flattery.
Sincerest form of flattery. There you go.
Right. The last thing was probably the most recent thing, and it was we did a parody of Savage Dragon, and I always heard through a person that knows a person that knows a person, because back when I was doing shows, I didn't really connect with everybody like the way that I do in these past 15 to 20 years, so I just kept on hearing that Eric Larson was so mad that somebody had done a parody of his book. Somebody's making money off of his creation. So I was just like, like the last thing I want to do is offend somebody that I look up to.
You can parody tragedy all you want. Go for it. I will not be offended.
Because he's one of the guys. He's one of the top guys at the time. His work ethic, you can't argue with his work ethic. I mean, he does turn out so much work, and he works hard at what he does. So we're connected on Facebook, just like most people are. So I just somebody brought it up one time in a comment thread that he was in, and they posted the cover, and I was just like, this would be probably a good time to ask him if he was like, and just apologize, maybe, if he was actually offended or whatever. Hey, I was a hungry kid growing up. I didn't know no better, sir.
I had 50 legitimate kids to feed.
I didn't know what I was doing. So I asked him point blank about it, and he was just very super gracious, super cool guy. He was just like, no, it's like, he thought it was funny, blah blah blah. Like, it wasn't like he was telling me it was the greatest work he'd ever seen or anything. I just wanted to know he wasn't offended and that it was okay. Right.
Well, the funny thing is,
and that was like a relief to me. It was like a little bit of confirmation to me that's like, okay, like I'm fine, I'm good. So and
the funny thing that I've found is that a lot of the guys, like, I'm sure there is some legitimate truth to him being annoyed back in 95, 96 when he's on top of the world. Right. Now these guys are a little bit, and he looks
right, different perspective. Yeah,
it was funny
different
stuff,
perspective.
But yeah, I mean, but at the same time, I mean, Eric, I've known Eric for many years, and he's all over the place. There are days where he's super happy to be there, and there's days where he's like, I hate everyone.
So now, going from all those ventures, you are with Committed Comics on Nira-X.
Yes.
And we're going to get into Nira-X very soon. But real quick, well, not too quick, tell us about Committed Comics. Tell us, why are you a publisher that we should have our eye on and that we should really be paying attention to?
Well, what you said earlier was 100% correct. We are committed to doing comic books, and I legitimately should be in an insane asylum. So it's literally 6 of one, half dozen the other. No, I mean, it's just, I love comic books. Like, I love comics. I love the comic industry. I love everything about it. Unlike the uneducated Bill Mouse when he was younger, when I was younger, I actually paid attention to who the artists were and who the writers were. I just draw the boobies. and so I was way more like, Bill and everybody else I knew were enjoying the books for the books. I was enjoying the books. I was enjoying the creators. I was getting definitely more involved with just like the industry as a mechanical entity. Everybody else was buying Wizard and reading Wizard in the 90s, and I was buying Comic Buyer's Guide. I was reading Comics Journal. Just knowing the back end of it all.
Go ahead.
In addition to buying Wizard, okay, I had some pretty cool stuff. All right, I bought Hero and Fan.
Amazing Heroes. That was one of my first published pieces ever. Was an Amazing Heroes.
Really?
Yeah, in the fan section in the back. That was one of my first ones ever.
And David Anthony Kraft's comic scene and all that stuff. And I was reading everything I can get my hands on. So because of the fact that I love comic books so much, there was one time where me and my friend Alex and some other people were complaining about the comic book industry in the mid-90s, because the mid-90s were not a happy time in comics. And, my roommate at the time pretty much said, like, look, either do something about it or shut up. It's just like, you can't sit there and complain about something and then not offer an alternative or solution to the problem, right? Like then you're part of the problem. And so I was like, oh, well, I know enough people. I know, people in the comic book industry. I used to have friends who interned at Valiant. I used to hang out at the Marvel offices with my friend Wilson, and that kind of stuff. Shout out to Wilson. But yeah, I mean, so I got in touch with people. I learned stuff, and I said, like, hey, let's just blow a whole lot of money and go into publishing, because we were dumb. Alex used to have this horrific joke. It's like, how do you make $1 million in publishing? Start with $2 million.
I love that. That is great.
And just
that's
as well
that's
as
the
I
New
do.
York. That's the New York coming out.
Yeah, just as well as I do, Phil. I mean, there's some truth to that, right? It's like it's an uphill battle. Like when you're publishing, because we
do this because you love it. Yeah,
right. We don't.
Kirby said comics will break your heart.
Yeah, and we don't have the luxury of back when, Jim Shooter got into it or Arthur Adams got into it. That was a much different world. Shooter got picked up when he was 14 years old writing Legion of Superheroes. I mean, that's not going to happen anymore, right? Like it's a different entity in 2000 when me and Alex started the company. So we just went about it the best way we could and started doing it. And I built the company on two premises. One, to have original, interesting comics. Like, I didn't want to just make another Superman. I didn't want to make another Batman, another Captain America, as a lot of people who I see doing books, they just basically take one element of that hero, twist it 60 degrees, and then they publish their book. And I'm like, that's not creating anything. You're riding somebody else's coattails. So that was one thing, was to make sure that it was something different, and also to give people the opportunity to get into the business. Right. So someone who's 15 or 16 years old can write a story and come to us, and then I'll tell them to come back when they're 18. But, I'm not going to do
it. Sweatshop at Committed Comics.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm not doing labor laws. Let's get real, boys and girls.
We'll even make the Nikes for you.
Oh, my God. I don't mean to get political or nothing, but.
You want an iPhone? We'll make an iPhone for you. Don't worry. We got children in the back.
Hey, Tom, I need that bigger iPad that's coming out this year.
Yeah.
Just so you know, I got to upgrade.
You got to misspell it so we don't get sued. It's Nicky's. It's Nicky's, damn it.
Where are my Nicky's?
So yeah, I mean, it was that kind of stuff. Like, we wanted to make good comic books, but we also wanted to give people the opportunities. And so that was one of the reasons why, we worked with so many, like, pretty much the cover for our first publication in, I think it was 2001. Committee Comics Presents Threads was done by Dick Ayers. It's like, this guy inked Kirby. He worked at Marvel. He's, it was a Western book. So he literally started, he was like the heart of the Western genre. Him and John Severin were the ones doing it, He created the original Ghost Rider, which most people are not aware of, Ghost Rider was not a flaming skull guy. It was a man with a bandana on a horse.
Yep.
And again, it was because of the fact that I knew somebody who could get a hold of him, and that was almost everybody that I ended up getting information from and sponging.
Well, that's networking, and that's key.
Yeah. And so yes, I mean, that was our first publication, and it was everybody inside the book for the most part had no published work. So like, we were their first published work sequential wise. Some of them maybe had pinups, like Bill, like you were saying. You had a pinup in the back of Comics Illustrated or whatever. So for a lot of these guys, I mean, it was 10 pages, and a lot of these guys burnt themselves out on 10 pages. So I also learned that this is, there was a lot to learn, even though I was able to publish a book, and even though I was able to do that. Yeah. So, I mean, we've been doing it now for 22 years straight. We took a couple of years off and still learning.
Time is nuts.
When the pandemic happened and stuff like that, I was like, everyone went into the crowdfunding mode, and I was slow to adapt to that.
Isn't that the biggest problem? It makes it interesting, but it's also the biggest problem is that once you get the game completely figured out, it's like the whole game changes.
Yep.
Like the whole playing field changes.
Yeah,
And
it's not
like,
just moving the goalposts back. It's you literally get into a bus, drive down the street, go to a brand new stadium with a brand new team and
it's not just that.
And I don't know how to play
everybody
cricket.
else is on the same journey as you are, so they're all getting to the same spot around the same time. And now
we're all in
Kickstarter,
we're all in
for
buses
example,
going all over the place,
inundated and flooded. With now anybody and his sister can make a comic. Whether it's good or not is, another discussion.
That's arbitrary.
It's arbitrary. Everybody has access, though. That's the thing. Yeah.
And so now you're a person screaming in the middle of a full football stadium, and you're expecting to be heard or hoping to be heard. Yeah.
Exactly.
So that's one of the reasons why.
That's why Bill whips out the boobs.
That's right.
That's
Bill's
what I do.
His own. He says, "Wham!"
Of course, while playing tuba.
You got to do the sound of the comic sound effects. Wha-pow!
I was one of the best tuba players on the Eastern Seaboard. Don't you forget it.
There you go.
I mean, that's even now after all this time, we still have those two core things. We want to make sure there's a bridge between veterans and newcomers or relatively newcomers, and also create interesting and fun comics.
Because at the end of the day, yes, you do need some star power to push books. But it is about the art. It is about the craft. It is about the creativity, and there's no reason why you can't mix the two. I agree 1,000%.
Yeah. So that's just and so that's pretty much one of the reasons why people should look at Committee Comics is because we have creator-owned projects. And
I got you, Kevin.
Yeah.
I'm going to go around to high schools and see if I could. Somebody's got to donate a tuba to me. I'm not paying $7,000 for a tuba.
54-year-old man going around high schools is going to look like a totally different thing.
That's not a good
and
idea.
It's not going to be good.
Nope.
It never is.
Show up in that publisher van you were talking about before.
I'm here to assault a tuba. Is there a law against that?
And the answer would be yes. Yes, I'm sure there's a law against you and a tuba.
So if somebody just sends me a used tuba, that would avoid my arrest record being set up.
So here you are, match made in heaven. You met him at San Diego. You flirted. You hit on him.
That's right. I gave him flaming
You got
hot
the
Cheetos.
dating app going. Now you guys are invested in each other.
He bought me brisket. I mean, it's like we're set. We're set.
Pretty much, yeah. And pie.
And pie.
Yeah.
So
at the fanciest pie shop.
So speaking earlier, you're talking about reviving Nira, and here you go in Nira-X. This is the second issue coming up. For those who maybe aren't in the loop, tell us about Nira-X. Tell us about the first campaign, and then segue right into what's coming up.
Handing it over to me, are you?
No.
Well, Nira-X herself is a time traveling bounty hunter from a future that does not exist anymore. She comes from a place that was wiped out from existence by her brother, who was a scientist, and he was so afraid to die. He was just so scared of it that he wanted to use temporal mechanics in order to make himself live out each one of his multiversal lives one at a time forever, and basically do that, except that all these other versions of himself are doing it at the same time. So instead of him living out each one of those lives one at a time like he was planning, all of those lives merged into this one being, kind of this big hulking. I have to call him a Hulk just because he's a big muscle-bound purple guy. And of course, in true 90s style, because I only know how to produce 90s comics, is his name is Paradox, because that's what he is. He's a paradox. And Nira, he's a paradox. It takes place in a swamp. We got a boat, and he's got a beard down to his knees.
They're like Heckle and Jekyll, but more like ducks.
Right. So there's lots of versions of him, of Alexander, that's his name, that are good, or not even knowing what the other ones did, so they're helping Nira along, but all these evil ones have actually, they're paradox, they're evil. So that's kind of the gimmick that's dragging Nira through time, is every time one of his paradox selves shows up on the time stream somewhere, she gets dragged to that point, and she has to take care of him because he's not supposed to be there. She has to take care of him. So because of the way Nira has been published over the years with different companies, different publishers, her timeline is just all over the place. So what we've done with Committed Comics is that we've consolidated. So it's a reboot, it's a refresh, but it's not necessarily starting from scratch. All of that old stuff is still
we're acknowledging
continuity.
that the old stuff exists.
The old stuff.
That was actually
tightening it up and cleaning it up.
So that was actually the first thing that we published together was the Ground Zero, which was the first 3 miniseries that Bill had published in their entirety with her first appearance in Zen, with new stuff on either side to frame it off and give people a jumping on point.
Exactly. Because just like her brother, there's an infinite number of Niras floating around out there too. So, what we did was, in order to simplify, and it was like time travel, you could just write yourself into a corner, and I do every single issue. So if you want to be entertained, this is good escapist fun. The book does not take itself as seriously as a sci-fi adventure could.
But wait a minute,
she's got a sense of humor too.
Guy, it's not serious, really?
I know. It's not completely serious. There's some drama, but it's like, she's aware of herself. So we've consolidated all of those different realities, different characters. And if you want to think of it as a video game map, okay, like the Earth that she lives in, the Cyber Angel world, what she lives in is this flat Earth. And you could think of it as a video game map where all this it's mixed and matched, kind of like War World, if you want to compare it to something where it's patchwork of all these different places, times, eras,
or
all these
Secret
different
Wars,
things.
if you want to keep it
Exactly. So instead of her necessarily time traveling right now, it's just that she's in this world that all these mixed up areas of places that she's been to in her past, and she's running into her rogues gallery of bad guys. She's running into friends, and she's running into brand new characters.
That's great.
More a Paradise guy. He knows. It's just a lot of fun. So for the older readers, every time like a character pops up, that's just like, oh, that's what became of that character. This is what became of this character.
Like, and again, we're acknowledging everything existed.
Exactly. So those things are still part of her continuity. Right, exactly.
Now, if you're a new reader, though, you're not going to be lost by not knowing who those prior characters were.
Because see, what's happening is Nira is actually experiencing this world kind of confused. She's like, this thing, I was just with my father on a spaceship. We were at a loading dock, and everything just mixed up. And now she's slowly regaining memories as she's going along of different things that she's already experienced or characters she's maybe run into before. So it makes it fun because Nira is kind of discovering some of these things along with the reader. So it's a good jumping on point. Like right now, we're traversing this area. Like I said, true 90s style. I named these things accordingly. So she's crossing this area called Darkon's Triangle, right? It's real piratey. It's like a lot of zombies, a lot of zombie pirates. But some of the characters from the Avatar Press days, like Darkon himself, he's part of that triangle. So the way that I treat this character is going to be in a completely fresh and new way. But it is kind of neat that it's that character. From
the nostalgia will kick in for those who know.
For those,
it's a nice jump on. It's new.
Yeah, for the ones who remember, it's like, oh, that's kind of neat. That's what happened to him. Yeah, that's nuts. And for people that are seeing him for the very first time, they're just looking at him going, "That guy's nuts."
That guy's crazy.
He's got a giant sword.
That guy's bloody crazy. No wonder he lives in the ocean.
So the first issue of Dark Seas, which is so Bill does everything in little mini story arcs, mini series, because he can't plan things out very far in advance because he gets confused.
I like bites. We go in bites. We'll release a big thick book down the road.
Over here
exactly.
It's a kid playing with Star Wars figures.
Okay.
It's a kid playing with Star Wars figures all over again. So
Are you like Lord Helmet playing with your figures?
Right.
Or are you like...
Oh no, I'm much more strategic than that. I have vehicles too.
I love
you. So the first issue is Dark Seas, and so we did one miniseries originally called Reborn, which that was the one that Bill was talking about, to where we kind of refreshed everything and made it inviting, good jumping on point for people. And then Dark Seas. Now every miniseries, we recap just enough, not to where we're over explaining ourselves,
Mhm.
but we'll recap just enough to give the readers who might be coming in for the first time. Because again, we're comic book fans, right? We don't want to just leave our readers out in the cold and be like, you figure it out. Have a nice day. Go back and buy 50 other issues. You know, it's no.
Right.
We're going to give you a little recap. You'll be able to experience way more and enjoy it well more if you own the other books, which are available as add-ons. But
Of
that
course.
you know that way, you know, you don't have to have them on there. So this is the second
Right.
issue. Usually, Bill, are you always doing 3 issues, or there might be
Yeah,
occasionally
we're sticking with 3 issue bites.
Yeah.
So like I've already have a general theme and a general area of the world that we'll be exploring for the next 3 series, or for the next 3 issue series that's coming up. So I'll leave that as a bit of a surprise. But this one has kind of a piratey theme. It doesn't mean the rest of the whole book forever is going to be all pirates. It's just because it just happens to be taking place on the ocean, and we got zombie pirates. You know, so sometimes they kind of like lean into it a little bit, like little Jack Sparrow, just kind of like lean into it just a tiny bit.
Yeah, because Bill's drinking rum, and so he's like, "There's pirates." And
You know,
you're doing the writing, penciling, and inking chores.
Yes.
Now, when in your writing process, because you're the artist, how do you do your writing process with the art? Because you don't have to write panel descriptions as an artist, and because you're the artist, you know. So what's your process with that?
The process, I think, is very organic. I don't sit down and actually map everything out, writing it down first. I keep on playing the idea in my head like a movie, and I keep on rewinding it and playing it, rewinding it, playing it, and then it's a combination
And then
of where I kind of have to meet myself in the middle sometimes, because it's like, I really want to draw this scene. This scene would be dope. How do I get to this scene so I can make it work to get to this scene? So there's a constant compromise, or a constant meeting of like I got 2 brains going on at the same time. I want to write the story to go this way, but I also want to see this, you know, that sort of thing. So I'm constantly building like that. There's, of course, like different things that I'll plot out ahead of time, because there's story beats that I'll have to hit, like, you know, towards the middle of the issue. And then I want to, especially because I already know it's a 3-issue miniseries, I want to leave it at a cliffhanger, but not on such a cliffhanger that you're pissed because you got to wait.
Right.
You know, there's a handful of months in order to get the rest of the story. So that's the process. It's just very like, it's clay, you know, it's like, it's not so much sculpting out of rock and this is what you get. It's more like clay. I'm adding on, I'm taking off. I'm adding on, I'm taking off. So
now, do you get along with the writer, or do you guys fight a lot?
We fight all the time. And sometimes there's 2 artists fighting up here.
No, it's that old Andy Kaufman skit from Saturday Night Live when he's wrestling himself.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. It's like, it's like every single time I draw one of the characters, I want to see the whole character. But if the character is doing something where her arm is actually covering up most of her body, or over a part of the scene that I really wanted to draw, or that I really wanted to see, but it wouldn't make any sense. You know, if she's over here, you know, doing something with a piece of equipment or wielding a weapon or something like that. And that's what needs to happen in that panel. Right. You know, she just can't be dialing a phone and it's like fully exposed, you know, it's like, you know, she has to be dialing a phone.
No,
you know,
aren't they all on Instagram doing that now? They're just
but, you know, but that's also part of crafting a story and actually telling a story is not a series of splash pages. I mean,
that's the thing. It can't be right.
You know,
it can't
the
be
mid-90s where everything was a series of splash pages.
Right,
there was no story in anything, and none of those things endured.
And that's where I meet in the middle too, when it comes to, because I'm very 90s influenced, and I realize that my storytelling and what I do is very 90s. I try to update it or make it more, you know, vintage, but it always comes out 90s. But it's like there is that value of actually and there's a lot of, I've done storyboards for so many different projects, for, like, you know, film pitches and this and that. So it's like storyboarding has always been, and that's part of like what I went to college for and all that stuff too, is like I was always very interested in filmmaking and broadcasting, and so that's all part of what I went to school for. So that's where I sort of fight with myself a little bit, because I want to see the splash page. I want to see all the muscles. I want to see all the boobs. It's like, but sometimes you really do have to sacrifice for the sake of, so when you look through the pages, even if you're not reading it, because I do that with books all the time. I pick up a book, I love it, but I flip through it and enjoy it for like a month before I actually sit down and read it. You know what I mean? It's like sometimes I just want to look at the art and play it like a silent movie in my head.
Nice.
It's like,
well, if you think about it, each
that's what I try to
panel
do.
is a frame by frame of a movie. If it's
Exactly.
done right, if it's sequential, that's done right.
And sometimes the pacing is super important.
Right.
Yeah, so you're trying to pull off a little gag where it's just like, a guy looks up, he looks to the left, and then he's surprised. You want those 3 panels.
Right.
In order to
even if they're small inset panels, exactly.
Yeah,
that movement, that reaction.
You want to have the reaction. You want to have not just a splash page and have you fill in the gaps yourself as the reader.
What I'm big
I want to show you. Yeah.
What I'm big on is ghost images. When you show Batman flipping off,
Spider-Man.
You see the prior ghost image of him, and I like to do that a lot in tragedy because it gives you that sense of motion.
It does.
You, I see movies when I'm writing it. I see the movie unfold. Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
So, but you being the artist, you get to do it.
Yeah.
So I fight with myself. I've got like 20 personalities all fighting for control of the book.
That's all right.
Oh my God, I'm Paradox.
Yeah. Well, they do say you write from what you know, and who do you know best?
There you go. There you go. That's what's happening. Nobody knows that I'm a time traveler.
with big boobies.
I'm really from the 40s.
Guy. Sorry, never mind.
Yeah,
so tell me, what kind of audience is going to love this book, and why will they love this book?
I hope that a very wide range of people will like this book, because I think that there's a little bit of stuff in there for people that really like lots of different things. People that like sexy characters, that's right up front and center, right on the cover. It's there's sexy characters in the book. Okay, we got a book full of Wonder Women. Okay, that's awesome. But I also have aliens. I've got all these monsters. So there's people that like all the different designs for different types of characters that are also part of the story. There's vehicles, there's spaceships, there's the type of superheroes that we're kind of used to, just like where people are either paranormally powered or super powered. You have those types of characters, but then there's like this science fiction kind of twist to it. I'm a sucker for time travel, anything. So hopefully people are attracted to it because there is like a time travel element to the whole thing.
Yeah. So when I'm at shows, because I go out and do shows all over the country. I do
so many,
six shows to 8 shows a year.
Yeah.
There's a wide range of people who pick up the book and will buy it and flip through it and that kind of stuff. And it's basically, it really boils down, and this is kind of what I tell people when they come by the tables and stuff. It's like you're gonna enjoy this. So if you enjoy action style books with different elements to them, like you were saying, you have some time travel, you have some science fiction, you have some monsters, you have this, but you just have to also enjoy basically the storytelling vehicle that is a comic book.
Mm-hmm.
And that's pretty much who it's for.
And honestly,
if people are going to pick it up, or people who just
honestly, and honestly, the way it's written, I don't have so much specific detail inside each issue that you would have to know what happened in previous issues to just sit down and enjoy it. It's like, oh, this is a sci-fi space chick, and this is what's happening to her right now. Mm-hmm. So you can just read that and enjoy it for what it is, and enjoy the action of it, enjoy what she's doing. And maybe if you end up liking the character, you want to pick up back issues to see what else happened to her. But it's not like you really
pick up back issues. We have them in stock.
Yeah, you could definitely the back issues would definitely fill in all those gaps. But at the same time, you can just sit down and enjoy just reading what's happening to her in the moment without really knowing all the other stuff. Because I play with a lot of tropes that we're all so familiar with that it feels comfortable anyway. It feels like, oh, this is cool. This is what happened to her. This is what's happening right now. Blah blah. So there's not a, for lack of a better word, a paywall or an information wall. Like it's like, oh, this happened, but I have no idea why. Like I don't get it. Like or what? Right. It's like you're watching what's happening to her, and I think it's fun. It's just a really fun book. It's not the kind of book when people ask me if there's a moral to the story or some this overarching. It's just a lot of fun, and it's escapist fun.
And I think that's great, and I think we need more of that because lately comics have become so dark and so serious and so close to reality.
Preachy.
There's no escape from reality anymore.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. I live in reality. I really don't need another comic book to have me, trudge through political identity, whatever things. I just want to know what's happening to this character in this fun setting with these cool monsters and these, these cool
the best stories, the ones that took you away from everything. Look, I had a crappy childhood. Comic books got me away from that. That was my I didn't do drugs or drink. My escape was my mind went to that book. Characters I could relate to, characters I could root for, characters I felt for when they fell.
And I'm not saying and I'm not saying that there isn't a place for comic books that do deal with all those things. Sure. I think there's space in the market for everything. There's always somebody in the market who will enjoy that.
Fun books. We need books that aren't so heavy.
Right. Yeah.
That you can just laugh, enjoy.
Right.
Right. Maybe you should make a scratch and sit. No, sorry, that's not.
I won't go that far.
Yeah.
I draw the line.
You've got felt in here. What's this? Anyway. Sorry, I'm bad.
Stretch goal ideas.
Yeah.
No.
And giving Bill some really interesting stretch goal ideas.
No, this is the beauty of being the publisher. I can just squash all this. Squash it down.
Now, and that's the thing for Committed Comics. Obviously, you are committed to it. I mean, you said what your mission statement is. But you're working with a well-established person in the industry with licenses, IPs that have been proven and established. They've been in distribution. They've been in comic stores.
Yep.
People know about them. So you're obviously, committed.
Yeah.
So
that's us.
Tell us more about Committed Comics, your lineup, things they can look forward to, where we can find your books, and when's your next show appearance, all of that.
So the next show actually is this coming weekend, which is pretty awesome. We're going to be in Atlanta Comic Convention. First time out in Atlanta. So everybody who's watching us from Atlanta, come on out. Then basically the books we have coming out. So after 20 plus years of publishing other people's stuff, I actually sat down and wrote my own book. Because
I backed it. Yeah,
and I appreciate that. And basically what it was is my business partner Alex was kind of like, hey, you know what, we can't always we can rely on Bill to always kind of have something in the hopper, a little 3-issue miniseries, because they're small miniseries, little bite-sized morsels.
Ride Bill.
Whoa. Family show.
Are you going to buy me more brisket?
Yes. And pie.
So, I believe you say it in Walowitz's mother's voice.
That's right. Howard. So basically I was like, I've got a fun little story to tell. So I started writing about our company mascot. So this is a company book. And again, utilizing the themes of making sure that I have seasoned veterans working with industry newcomers. The person who's doing the line art for Tales from the Asylum, which was my book that I just finished on Kickstarter and will be available in the end of March on committedcomics.com. He's done a couple of independent books, but he needs more exposure, right? He's an excellent artist, and so he needs more work out there, and so that's what I'm doing. And then to blend the veteran concept with the brand new concept there's a story within the story, and that has artwork by Dustin Weaver, who's done tons of work for Marvel, DC. He's working over at Image. He has a Creator-owned series there. He did the Turtles books for like the past 3 years. So I mean, again, a seasoned veteran working in tandem with brand new creators. So, so I mean, we've got that coming up. That's going to be available at the end of March. Obviously, we're working with the sign-up sheet for Bill's book, and then all the stuff. We have. Oh God! 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have like seven different titles. Each title
multitasker,
yeah, 7 different titles. Each title has anywhere between 2 to 4 issues, and they're all available on on the website. The website is currently going through a facelift, a refresh, done courtesy of my good friend Murphy. So she's doing a great job. And Charles, see, you got me all excited. I was going to know somebody at the show, and now nothing. Nothing. No.
Tom is all alone.
Oh no, I know enough people to do this show. I'm never alone at a show. I've been doing this for going to shows since '84. I know enough people. I'm not worried. But yeah, I mean, it's just I love this business. I love the industry, and I just keep going. And now that it's actually interesting because now that I've written stuff and Phil, kind of, we're now kind of in the same world together. It's like, it's a different experience to go to a show when I will have, I mean, unfortunately Atlanta, I won't have my own project, but I'm hopefully going to have it for Planet Comic-Con in Kansas City, which is in the middle of March. I'll be at that show. I'll also be walking around the Emerald City because I live in Seattle, so that's super local to me. But yeah, I'm sure it's going to hit differently when I'm behind the table pushing my own book in addition to pushing all the books that I publish, and it's same thing for Bill, it's like when Bill's at a table and he's pushing his stuff opposed to, the Local Man cover was cool that you did for Image,
right.
But, that doesn't hit the same as the newest issue of Nira-X on the table.
Well, of course. Yeah, of course. I mean, that's our thing, that's that represents us,
Yeah.
So
before we wrap things up, two things. The first, as a publisher, as an indie publisher, what do you think is the biggest challenge that you face?
The biggest challenge, I think, as an indie publisher right now is just getting people to notice you, right? So it's like...
Take you seriously. Trust that you're putting out good stuff.
Yeah. I mean, that's definitely one way to do it. But I mean, I believe in every project that I actually have published, right? There's no reason I wouldn't take a project that if I didn't believe in it. I was at Dallas Comic-Con pre-pandemic, and I had talked to them one year, and I was like, "Hey, I show up every year. I'm here early. I'm the last one to break down. I'm basically doing this all myself because I do these shows mostly solo. Help a brother out." And so they gave me a double end cap spot, facing the main aisle, and everything like that. Like, they gave me every single opportunity to succeed. Did not blow numbers out of the water. And it was because I know that I didn't have the right stuff at the time to do that setup. I didn't have that stop, oh my God, I can see that. Now, ironically, if I had the booby mouse pads.
Jinx.
Yeah. Say my name, or I get 7 years by luck. Go ahead, you're saying.
So ironically, if I had the booby mouse pads, Bill, mouse pads, that might have been something that would have stopped people, right? Because they would have been like, "Oops,"
I think we should always have stock of those somewhere.
No. Look, you got to get in on the Kickstarter. You got to get in on the reward, the limited rewards. But yeah, no, I mean that's
as long as we can do more later. That's good.
Yeah. But that's pretty much what I think is the hardest thing about an indie publisher. I mean, the money's always difficult, right? It's the money's always going to be a challenge, but at the same time, there's always more money, right? Like, and so I think it's basically the exposure and continuing to remember why you're publishing, to continue the love of it. So the past in 2023, I actually didn't set up at two very large shows that I enjoy setting up at for the sole reason that I wanted to go and experience the shows again. I actually went to the shows. I went to Salt Lake Fan X, and I went to Planet Comic-Con in Kansas City. And I just ran around the shows with my friends. and I got lunch for people I know.
Just start running around. That would be comical. That'd be great.
And so I
that's the way he normally runs.
Yeah. But I needed to do that in order to remember, like, oh yeah, no. And it was funny because by the time I was done,
see.
By the time I was done with Fan X and getting the autographs that I wanted from the celebrities and getting the artwork that I wanted from creators, I was kind of like, okay, no, I know where I want to go with the next issue of my book. Like, I know these other elements that I want to do, and that kind of helped fuel that. And that's, again, something that we need to do every once in a while as creators. We need to just stop and remember why we're doing this stuff.
Sure.
Yep. So.
So before we go, whichever one of you or both of you take a stab at it, give us your elevator pitch Just so you know, everyone, I'm going to drop them again, but we dropped the sign-up link here in the chat. Creatorcon event, Creatorcon, and Philip Russert all dropped the link. Go click on it. Sign up. It's free. It takes 10 seconds, and you'll be notified via email when it launches. And what I tell everybody is, if you're on the fence about the project, still sign up because it's good to get the alert and then look at the campaign and make your decision. Yeah. All we ask is you give a fair chance and just get eyes on it. Give it a look at, and you can make your decision. But signing up is free. It's easy. It takes seconds, and they don't spam you with crap. It just, you get the alert when it launches. You'll get an alert,
48 hours,
when there's 48 hours left in the campaign. So it's not like this nagging thing, you're getting more spam, but it also helps. The more signups, it shows Facebook that this is a campaign that's got potential. It helps them with their algorithm Kickstarter. It helps them with the algorithm on Kickstarter, the more signups. So
exactly. It helps a lot. Yeah. It helps a lot.
So please click that and click that link and sign up right now. Mm-hmm. And after you hear the pitch, you're definitely going to want to sign up. So let's have it. Why do we want this book?
I'm hungry. I need food. I have a dog. He's a little guy. He needs snacks.
Yeah, if you don't buy the book, we're going to kill this dog, just like Coyote.
We're going to eat the dog.
No, I mean, in reality, it's a fun
PETA all over your ass now.
Yeah.
This is the next chapter for it's the next chapter for Nira-X. Nira-X is I'm so happy that people have allowed me to draw more books with her stories. I mean, since the 90s, it's like that's insane. So I appreciate that we're still here. This issue's the artwork is just going to be dope. It's going to be really cool. You're going to see some very, very cool characters. And just the adventure, it's going to be this combination of adventure and fun that I think you're really going to like.
High seas adventure.
Yeah, some high seas adventure and Nira-X doing her thing, man. It's like, and you see why it is that she becomes the bounty hunter, galaxy hopping chick that she will eventually become again because of the reset. So,
and then the other thing that I will say about the Kickstarter is, again, I can't stress this enough. I'm a huge fan of comic books. I'm a huge fan of the comic book industry. So I sit there and I try to look at stretch goals, rewards, different things. I mean, who was it? Was it Ken or Kevin who made the joke about the booby mouse pads again? Like, bringing more, the fans want that stuff. So yeah, I'm going to do it. But on the first Kickstarter that we did, which was the second issue of Reborn, it's like there were so many.
Exactly.
We had so many, stretch goals and add-ons and every extra stuff like that. Like, I remember people getting the packages and we're like, oh, there's 5 prints, 3 stickers, a sticker sheet and a trading card. Like, in most campaigns that I know, most guys who I know who run campaigns, they'll do a trading card for the issue. Right. We were stupid. We did 9 for each issue. So it was a full sheet. We did it for issue 2 and then issue 3. And I was like, never again am I doing that. I'll probably do it again, guys. I'm just saying.
Because he's committed.
Yeah, exactly. I need to be in the insane asylum. But I also always look at stuff like, what do I want to see? What would I like to get in the package?
That's the thing. We're fans. We're fans that our skill set happens to be
you
producing.
Want people to see your package.
Yeah, I want.
What's in the box? What's in the box?
Older to see my package.
And then you get to see Bill's tuba when he goes around to high school. Yeah,
and then you're going to be like, "That's dope."
No.
Yeah. Well, I will say this, and I've been told I'm very good at pitching and marketing. If you like sci-fi, if you like high seas adventure, if you like attractive women marching around kicking ass, if you like monsters and superheroes, if you like just getting away from reality for a little while to laugh and enjoy and just be entertained, you got to get the book.
There you go.
That's the soundbite that we're going to play in front of you.
You are hired. Here's your $1.50.
No, but seriously, I mean, Bill's career speaks for itself. Tom
man.
has
I
been putting
appreciate it.
out books for how long? You know, you
20
guys
something
know what
years now.
Committed Comics brings to the table. And there's no reason to not give it a shot. You know, just remember too, you take more of a risk buying a Happy Meal for $15 frickin' that's going to clog your arteries than you do for a $15 comic book that not only could be something worth something someday, but even if it isn't, it could just be something worth it to you because it was just something that resonated with you and you remembered and you enjoyed and you'll go revisit again. So, and your money is going to support artists, writers, editors, publishers, logo designers, colorists, inkers, everything, you know, from soup to nuts. And it's a small investment on your part, but it means a lot to us.
I really need to play some Sarah McLachlan over this. Say that again. So I can...
I'm just saying.
No, you speak the truth, man. It's like it's awesome. It's meaningful. I mean, this is what we live for. You know, this is what we love to do, and people know that because we're still here.
Yeah, because
we didn't love it, we would have left long ago. So
look, if you like the Main Street stuff, there's nothing wrong with that.
Of course,
you're throwing your money at people that are now driven by market shares and shareholders.
Mm-hmm.
But when you support Committed Comics and Bill, you're supporting passion. The same passion you have as a collector, they have as a creator.
Yep.
Who better to support?
Yeah.
And I'm going to give you like some really cool, dope artwork to look at.
Word.
Very 90s. Very 90s.
Let me go get my extra baggy pants. I'm going to be like, hammer down.
No.
If you could do that dance side to side, let's do it.
If I could do that without being winded, I would do it right now for you.
This dude, Kevin, is hilarious. If you can get this book with the pretty pictures.
Well, again, I have a sign. I have a sign that shows that says buy a comic because you can't read a print.
There you go.
So I have a print, and then on the bottom it says, but we also sell prints if you can't read.
But we also sell prints.
Where can we find the Committed Comics library, and where can we find Bill's work, and can they commission you, Bill?
So Committed Comics, you'll find us on committedcomics.com. That's 2 M's, 2 T's. So COMMITTEDCOMICS.com. That's probably the easiest place. We're also on Instagram at committed.comics and Twitter/X or whatever at Committed Comics, one word there. And like I said, the website's getting a refresh. So hopefully I'm trying to get it done before, or me and my friend Murphy, we're trying to get it done before Atlanta, but
and what about you, Bill?
And as far as me, you can find me right here, billmouse.com. I've got all my pertinent links right there on my webpage. And I've got an online store. You could buy original artwork. You can download some PDFs. I've got some other things in the online store that you could buy. I got some other comics, some APs, things like that. I rotate things in and out of the store kind of on a monthly little cycle. So if you could check that out, maybe you want to pick something up, awesome. That would be great. Also, my other links will be there for like my Facebook and all my social media and stuff like that. So that's where you can find me.
For commissions right now, we are going to have some commission tiers on the Kickstarter. And for my own sanity and time frame, I'm going to say no. Bill's commissions are currently closed. They can be gotten on the Kickstarter campaign because I wanted to have him tighten that up.
Yeah, exactly. Well, what I need to tell people when they ask me personally, when they write to me personally for commissions, right now the list is actually a little bit long, and we do have the Kickstarter coming up. So if I do recommend getting on the list before the summertime, because the summertime just gets a little unwieldy. Yeah, the summertime gets.
But get it on the campaign, because that money goes to everybody. Get it on
the
campaign.
Exactly. If you wait for the campaign, if you sign up for the campaign and get the commission through the campaign, that's what's really going to help us out right now. And you actually get a cheaper rate going through the campaign than you would commissioning a new piece that's going to be, put on the list right now. So that's part of the special that we're trying to do with the campaign.
For all those people who are very concerned, we have a safe for work tier and a not safe for work tier.
Tom organizes all of that. He's my art agent for that part. So please go through Tom. If you do get a commission tier through the Kickstarter. Everything goes through Tom. I know that I talk with a lot of my friends and fans directly for a lot of things, but for that specific list, if it's specifically through the campaign, please go through Tom first. So that way we just don't get confused.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Definitely closed for you, Ken. Commissions are definitely closed.
Well, guys,
Kevin is asking about a 20 by 24. I'm actually in the middle of taking a commission that's 20 by 30 on illustration board. It's a big Zen movie poster kind of piece.
Cool. Wow.
And so if people are asking how much something like that is, those are upwards of like $650 and up for those. Those are a little bit more work.
That's a great price, though.
I think it's reasonable. I know where I am on the totem pole. So
as an art rep, I'm telling you, that's more than reasonable.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, guys, it was great to have you on. I had a blast.
Thank you.
I was glad to meet you face to face, and
absolutely.
I'm going to sign up, and I'm looking forward to it. And I wish you the greatest of success. And I mean that with sincerity, because you know what?
Yeah.
We indie publishers need to respect each other and stick together and support each other, because you're not my competition. I'm my competition.
Yep.
And artists have to take the same attitude, because if what you're putting out is quality, what are you worried about?
Yeah, you will find an audience.
Yeah, everybody's success is everybody's success. I think it lifts us all up, so that's good.
There's enough for everybody. There's enough people in the world.
Exactly.
No. But anyway, to my favorite Irishman, to Mighty Mouse, it was good to talk with you guys. You're welcome anytime.
And to all of you out there.
And you, of course, are welcome to tag anytime. You can tag me or share to my page all the Kickstarter posts and promotions.
Yes.
If it gets you one backer,
Thank you. No, Phil, you got a good network as well. So we're gonna help
because
each other
I
out.
may have fans you don't have, you may have fans I don't have, and let's connect everybody, right?
I bought a bunch of stuff from Phil recently. I'm just saying, I got
cool.
Awesome.
All right, man.
You guys be good. Stay out of trouble. Don't get caught. And I'll see you on the flip side.
Cool. Thank you, sir.
Good. We'll see you guys.
When are you launching?
February 18th. That's a Sunday evening.
Yes, it is. And we're launching at 10 o'clock. It's we're doing a live stream launch party at on the Madness Network with Pops. I'll be putting links on my Facebook and all my socials as far as as soon as it gets close to the day, and we have that link available. So that way, and then so we'll be doing a live stream little launch party. But yeah, February 18th, 10 o'clock, we'll be going live.
Does he know you're on this show?
Yeah, I think so.
He hates me.
Pop hates everybody. Pop goes through cycles. He hates everybody at different times.
I can't keep track of who he might not like. So it's fine.
Man, you have no idea. He's like blacklisted people from his group just for knowing me. He hates me.
Oh, man. Well, I'm sorry to hear that. This is the first I'm hearing of it. But you know what? We had a good time. We're good, dude.
Listen, if you don't have haters, you're doing something wrong.
There you go.
And I'm apparently doing it really right.
Really good, Phil. Great job.
You guys be good. Take care.
All right. Take care of yourself, man. All right.
Bye. All right. So just to recap, guys, okay? For those who maybe checked in late or don't know what's going on, I just want to remind you the 18th of this month, Bill and Tom have the campaign starting for their new book. It's on Kickstarter, and it's you don't want to miss it. All right, Nira-X. If you don't know about it, go find out about it. You can sign up right now. The link is in the chat. And you're going to want to check out the book. It's sci-fi, and it's high seas action. It's superheroes. It's monsters. It's boobies. It's fun. It's just fun. And I think we all need a little more of that in our life. So please go check that out. Before I go, just stay with me for 2 minutes. I am also a publisher, and I am publishing a book for Alejandro Rojas from Cuba. And it's a sci-fi action tale that needs your help. Okay. They too are passionate about comics, and it's a well-written story, or I wouldn't have bothered to publish it. It's called Fumigator. We have 15 days left, and we're very short of the goal. We need your help and your support. It's a $12 book. or $30 to get all 3 covers. Basically, long story short, in Havana, Cuba, it's a dystopian future, and there was a nanobot invasion, and there's still nanobots around after this great ordeal. And fumigators are government agents that go out and they cleanse out areas of the nanobots using EMPs, etc. This book has elements of Die Hard, Judge Dredd, The Raid, Terminator, but it's written differently, and it's really good. And here's an Alex Bravo cover, here's a Kenny Calderon cover, and here is another Alex Bravo cover, or all 3. And the character is basically a disgruntled older gentleman who hates his job, hates his life, hates what he does. And this book is a 3-issue series, if we can get issue 1 made. And it's basically him having like the worst day of his life. So if you can't stand getting up to your job every day, you can relate to this dude. But then there's also sci-fi action, there's fun, there's monsters, there's cyborgs, there's everything. And also there's you're not going to find a better art tier than this. Kenny Calderon, here's a sample of his work. 9x12 original art, character of choice, inked, $100. Full body, or almost full body. I mean, he's not Rob Liefeld, he can draw feet, but so full body inked. Okay, this is the quality work you get for $100. And again, it supports the artist, it supports the campaign. We need you guys. Forgive me if I sound like I'm begging, but I'm begging. Please go ahead and pledge. It's a $12 book. It's a minor investment, but you'd be making a major difference in Alejandro's life, because they can't publish these comics in Cuba like this. They can't. So help us get to the goal. All right. That's about it. I'm going to leave you with what I always leave you with. Be legendary and have fun storming the castle.